I'm talking about not defending, but supporting. We cannot be starting mega projects or any project. Then we start defending when we are at it. I would rather we be starting from the support that you are getting from the public.
Of course, I read the genesis of this and how it's done, how much people talk about projects, how they explain, how they market. It may have been different. So what you are saying is quite right. Because when we build roads, for example, we go and market the projects and we go and have stakeholder engagement. And this is the way to go. So what you are proposing is really right, and it is within the Constitution.
Okay, so going back to capitalization, but this time, this time in terms of costs, it was initially projected to cost 220 billion shillings. The figure of 1.2 or 1.3 trillion shillings is now being bandied about.
Yes.
How is it that this, the cost has multiplied, several times over?
Now, let me first of all explain. And this is why I say this information, since it's not coming from heaven and it is not written on a stone, which was given to Moses, is subject to questions. So when somebody says it's 1.3 trillion, that person should come with documents that bear a signature from Treasury requesting for that loan, from the PS or from the Minister in Treasury, or a letter from myself or my predecessors indicating that it was 1.3 trillion. Then we can talk about it. And I would really want no mention of 1.3 trillion because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Now.
So what is the true cost?
Now it is about $3.8 billion, which we are converting at 86. At 86, it's approximately 327 there. So take, if it goes to, the shilling goes to a gigi, then it, can go up kidogo.
The Deputy President certainly said that last week when he was here.
Yes. But your question now about the 220 and the 325. Now,
and that's in shillings
it
now.
tells you that the people who are talking have information that as we progressed in the construction of this railway, at one point it became obvious that you cannot just build a railway and not have rolling stock. So that is now the differential between the civil works and the other about 115, which brings it to 327, is for the rolling stock, which we are bringing on board. Because one thing, and we've seen projects that have been built, you finish a project, it's a building, no furniture. You cannot use it. You finish a hospital, no furniture, no equipment. You cannot use it. So you have a building, and it is what we call a white elephant.
Right.
So we decided we are not going to have a white elephant. So there are two things. You can have a railway, it's beautiful, it's there, but there is no train that is running on it. And we need to start repaying the loan from day one, from revenues that are generated.
But that's where the argument is. Why do we have to buy the rolling stocks? We buy the locomotives instead of allowing the operator to buy them so that they can decide.
But in this case, the operator is Kenya Railways.
Okay.
So, but what we are saying is we are going to run an open system. Kenya Railways, and we are changing the law. The operator will be Kenya Railways. But if you want, we are going to put tenders so that you can bring your own railways. So Kenya Railways will be an operator. We are going to have a body, a regulatory body, that will now be having oversight. It is the one that issues licenses. When you want to use your train, you apply. And individuals or groups of companies or multinationals. Or
but that's the argument, Waziri,
yes,
that if we are going to have the Kenya Railways run the project, it should be given the leeway to decide on the design of the stations and the yards, to decide on the buying of the rolling stocks and the locomotives, that it doesn't have to be involved in the initial project, but the operator can be given that work.
No, you see, let's look at it. So you are suggesting that we build a railway, then we start now looking for operators. Now here we needed to have revenues from day one. And as we progress with the construction of this railway, we are trying now to remove KRC, Kenya Railways, from being both an operator and a regulator. Therefore, and we have said, I think I said it here, that the NTSA, on top of being the regulator for the road transport, we want them to be a regulator for the railway transport. And therefore, Kenya Railways now becomes an operator. They will come and apply for licenses, okay, for using the track. And anybody who's Mutegija or Dwakomimo, if you want to buy your own trains and locomotives to use, then you can use it.
Okay, let's go back to that. We sort of jumped into the operators before exhausting the rolling stock, locomotives, coaches, and freight wagons. For people who are not familiar with all of these elements that go into railway lines, explain why you felt the need to get all of these things and how it contributed to the escalation of costs.
Not escalation, but additional costs. Because, and these I've explained, we've had hospitals. For example, I was in charge of Eldoret Referral Hospital.
No, you've made that point.
We
about
built a
building
hospital,
infrastructure with
and
no
there was no
furniture.
equipment, and therefore we opened a hospital, and then we had to source for money, and the building remained idle for some time. Webuye Hospital is a classic example, and these things happen all over. Now, so the thinking process, and I want to commend those people who know that we need to have a railway that we use from day one. Therefore, on top of the civil works, we added the cost now of the rolling stock. The rolling stock are the locomotives. These are the engines. And then we have the passenger coaches, and then the wagons for carrying the goods. So that is basically where this additional cost is
And these are
from.
sourced from China as well.
These
the
are
same
sourced
company.
from China. Because again, the money for this is from the Exim Bank of China. And this is where I said that if the Chinese, if we are not satisfied with the locomotives from China, then we can say, even if you are giving us money, can we source it from another source? But
They have
the
to
Chinese,
agree.
they have to agree. But the Chinese have good locomotives. They are running one of the largest railway network in the world, using their own locomotives, and therefore we find
You
them
have
to be
said that you wanted to make money from day one.
Yes.
But there is argument that the SGR may not even be able to match, because it's supposed to do like 40% of the cargo at the port. The rest you don't decide, and therefore if it's KPA, for example, may not be able to decide the amount of the cargo that SGR is going to cover. And therefore you are not sure even about the amount of money that you are going to make from it. And there are also arguments that it will need like a subsidy of 18 billion shillings coming from Kenyans, considering even Kamau is not making money. They had to lower the prices so that Kenyans can use it.
Let me ask, who is KPA? Today, if we made a decision that we are going to merge KPA with Kenya Railways and make it East African or Kenyan Railway and Harbors, it's a government decision. We can put them back together if we find that that is the... So KPA is not an independent body. It is there. It is a government parastatal. It is formed to perform government functions, and it is doing very well. What we are saying is this. Even at the moment, KPA is the one that designates where the cargo will go, to which CFS it's going to go. The agreement of take or pay is very simple. KPA has a depot in Nairobi, internal inland container, which is very big and which is disused. 70% of all the cargo that comes from the part of Mombasa is destined to Nairobi. So taking a portion of that and bringing it to Nairobi is still to a KPA facility. So it's KPA. The port is KPA. The inland container depot is KPA. It's not changing hands.
But speaking to that matter, though, do you then have an agreement that 30% of the cargo that will be, transported on the standard gauge railway will come from Mombasa?
Yes, it will come from Mombasa port to inland container depot, which is owned by KPA.
But Waziri, you are not going to choose for an individual who wants to move cargo who to use.
Even today,
it is for that person to
let
be
me
attracted
explain.
to it.
And I think you did not get that point.
Yes.
Today, it is KPA who decides the cargo will go to which CFS, because the CFSs are an extension of the port, the container freight stations. Because we do not have sufficient storage here at the port of Mombasa, we have licensed CFSs, and therefore there is a distribution mechanism by KPA. It is KPA that determines. So we are just saying that the inland container depot is an additional CFS, treat it as a CFS.
Yeah.
And therefore there is no difference.
Okay.
Today that system is working, why would it not work tomorrow?
Just to go back to the funding, which was where Mutegi was focusing, have you started paying out any money to China?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So
There was an article in the Standard a few days ago saying that this rule will not make profit, that we have to subsidize it or charge it, exorbitant charges. What? Probably you've read that article.
Prophets of doom. Prophets
They
of
said
doom.
it is an article, it is a document that has been prepared to give to the investigators, which Standard has.
Let them take it. In fact, why are they hiding them? Why are they hiding them?
Okay.
If they don't know the address of the EACC, I can tell them that it is on Mirimani Road, it is at the junction of Kenyatta Avenue. Take it very quickly. Take it very quickly. EACC is an independent body. They can hire experts from elsewhere, railway experts, to come and give them an expert advice. Why?
I think was
okay,
really,
so
it's not about the
these
project.
documents,
beyond
people
directing
should not,
It's not
people
about-
should not just
it's not
sit
about-
somewhere
Just
and
a
not
say,
minute,
about
beyond
opposing the
going and directing them to the investigating authorities, why are you so confident that it will make money, that will not be a white elephant?
Because I tell you, look at the road between Nairobi and Mombasa. Look at the amount of cargo that is coming from the port of Mombasa. Today, we have over 2,200 trucks on a daily basis. You cannot move between Nairobi and Mombasa. Look at the cost. You know, we don't just look at the railway. Look, what is it going to do? What is the relief on the roads? Who spends money repairing roads and developing roads? Why can't people see this as an integrated program? That if you are not spending money on roads and spending it on railways, the money has gone to railways.
I think, Waziri, the issue is not about opposing the project.
Yeah.
Kenyans, personally, I think is a very good idea.
Yes.
All that we are talking about is transparency and accountability, so that you don't tell me, because I'm building you a house, you don't have to ask me how much it's costing. I think that's the problem.
I'm here to answer you,
Yes.
and I'm not being paternalistic. That what you're asking should not get an answer. The feasibility studies which you have done and which we are satisfied with show that, and the financial models that we've carried show that this is a very, very viable project.
Okay.
What about going back to the cost of the railway itself? There has been that claim, we have asked many times, that the railway that is being built in Ethiopia and ours, the cost is different. It's cheaper in Ethiopia, more expensive here.
Now, is it like for like? And here I would like to give you